We've built an RStudio project for a relatively simple exercise where the source data and the target data were both in the same folder. But when you're using code to generate a data product, typically the folder structure gets much more complicated than that. So I'd like to show you how to set up a data pipeline folder as an RStudio project. First of all, we're going to build this pipeline specifically for the example of a sensitivity analysis that we're going to build with some R code and some R code graphing. So I need to build a folder that's going to hold that data product when we're done. So I'm just going to put that folder on my desktop for now. You can put this wherever it's convenient for you. And I'm going to create a new folder. And because this is going to be a sensitivity analysis, I will call the folder sensitivity analysis. Now this is going to be my data product. So if I open up this folder, put it on the right monitor, this is going to be the root of my data product. And the pipeline is going to keep track of the different files I need to generate the product. And the way we like to build pipelines is with 4 primary folders. So I'm going to build some folders or add some folders here. The first one I'm going to call 1_input. The input folder is where any source data goes. If you need some sort of unmodified source data coming from somewhere else in order to create a particular data product, this is going to be where you put that file. The next folder I'm going to call 2_protocol. I'm putting the numbers before the name because in a file system like this, it's going to list these folders in alphabetical order. And the order of folders that makes sense to me in terms of how data flows through this workflow is in this order. So I've got a 1 input, that's the source data. 2 is protocol, and in the protocol is where all the files are going to go that describe how I take the input and turn it into my product. Now that can be manual in terms of manual steps that I take to work with the input data and generate the product, or it can be code. If I automate my workflow, and I do recommend automating the workflow as much as possible, the code for getting from the input to the product is going to be in the protocol folder. The next folder I'm going to create is 3_incremental. And I'll explain what's in the incremental in a minute because it'll make more sense when you see the last folder. The last folder is 4_product. Now the product is where the final product goes, but in the process of generating a product, sometimes you need to generate files that are not part of the product. You don't really need them in order to use the data product once it's all prepared. However, you want to keep track of those incremental files that you create on the path to creating the product. So the incremental folder is where those files will go. And I said as the product then is the final product. Now, ultimately, you should be able to use this data product with only what you find in this product folder. And the idea of these other folders is simply to keep track of the provenance of that data. So we want to keep track of all of the things that we do, including our source data, that we needed in order to create that product. So this folder structure of these 4 folders is designed to keep these 4 major organizational categories of files separate from each other. And just that alone is pretty helpful for somebody else trying to understand how this data product works.